Hey cousins, I hope you all had a good weekend, but even if you didn't, today is a new day and we are kicking off Black History Month with plenty to talk about. This past Sunday was the Grammy Awards and the DEI allegations are running wild. Meanwhile, Kanye West paraded around his wife naked as if she's for sale, and I'm concerned. While the Grammys were going on, the LA illegals took the highway for yet again another pointless protest. Aren't people tired of protesting causes that are objectively stupid? I honestly hope ICE was writing down license plates so that they can go get them later. But later in the show, I'll be reading James Charles for filth for disrespecting RFK. Anyways, y'all know the vibes. Be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Bye, sisters, and hello, cousins. Welcome to Respectfully Xavier. All right, first things first item of business. It is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. All the Caucasians to the back immediately. I'm kidding. It is Black History Month. And you know, a lot of people ask me what I think of Black History Month. And I feel like I have a pretty nuanced take on it. A lot of people just want to get rid of Black History Month. I understand why, considering like it's become this woke propaganda machine. But I do think that there is still a lot of good to Black History Month. Because in my eyes, and what I think is that Black History Month is a time to reflect on the incredible progress that our country has made as Americans of all creeds continue to lead the world in equality, freedom, and civil rights. That's something that we all as Americans should be proud of. That is American history. And the Black American story isn't just about what white people did to us. It's about what Black people achieved in the face of adversity, the way that we were overcoming obstacles and becoming the victors that we are today. That is a journey worth highlighting and celebrating. And it's not something that we only need to do in February, but it is cool, in my opinion, to have a month where we can do that. I'm someone that when I look at Black history, I don't dwell on the past. I look at it as something that is useful to educate ourselves on and to use as inspiration to continue to elevate and to innovate. So no, I don't think that we should get rid of Black History Month. I just think that we need to take a look back of the history of what Black History Month really means. And that being said, I want to actually run you guys down a little bit of the history of Black History Month before we get into all the craziness of this show. Let's have a little educational moment, a little edutainment, dare I say. So Black History Month actually started in 1926 when historian Carter G. Woodson initiated the Negro History Week alongside the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History when they announced that the second week of February was going to be Negro History Month. Now, there's a lot of people who debate what it actually was supposed to be about, but with the general consensus is that it comes down to two words: recognition and importance. They wanted to give recognition to all the Black innovators, scientists, creators, musicians, etc., people who represented Black excellence before it became a woke hashtag. They wanted to highlight those people and also just talk about the importance of Black history and the importance of reflecting on where we were and where we have come today. This teaching of Black history is essential because that is how you continue to get people to actually understand how powerful we all are as a culture and as a community, and also as Americans, again, to be proud of how far that we've come. It's crucial for the intellectual survival of any community as well. Now, something that I thought was interesting, I was looking more into Carter G. Woodson and something that he said. I want to read his quote. He says that if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. The American Indian left no continuous record. He did not appreciate the value of tradition, and where is he today? The Hebrew keenly appreciated the value of tradition as it is attested by the Bible itself. In spite of worldwide persecution, therefore, he is a great factor in our civilization. And what essentially that means is that if you don't continue to teach history and you don't pay attention to how far we have come and tell your kids and your grandkids these stories, you end up losing a lot of that history and tradition. You guys know I'm partially Chinese and I'm very proud of that, but I'm also part Native American. I have a lot going on in me. And for example, I couldn't tell you anything about my Native American heritage because it was something that wasn't passed along. It was something that wasn't talked about. So when you don't tell your history and you don't tell your story, that's why that a lot of information about these Native American tribes is lost because it wasn't shared, it wasn't highlighted. And I don't want, excuse me, to see that happen to Black history. And in the same way, or actually contrary wise, you have the Hebrew story and you have the story of Jewish people and how that has been told for thousands of years, and people are still able to tell those stories and that history in such great depth because they make sure they are utilizing word of mouth, utilizing writing down these stories, teaching and highlighting the history. And also, you have this thing where the people who are writing history tend to be the people who won. And I'm very happy that the Union is who won back in the Civil War, because in the 1930s, shortly after Negro History Week started, and part of why it popularized is because you had the Confederates in the South, mostly leftists, that were trying to push the lost cause narrative. And if you're not familiar with that, it's essentially this idea that in the South, they didn't care about slavery and that they were actually the heroes in the Civil War, and that this was all about defending everybody that was in the South, when we all know that's just not the case. So being able to tell accurate, proper history is important. Whether the history is good or bad or ugly, we should just be teaching objective history. Now, after Negro History Week started becoming popular, of all the way in 1969 is when Kent State University became the first group to celebrate Black History Month, where they dedicated, it was actually January 2nd through February 28th that they were celebrating Black history and highlighting all the different great things that have happened in Black history. Again, it was something that was positive. It was, again, something that was about recognition and significance. And many other universities started getting involved all the way until Republican President Gerald Ford in 1976 was the first to truly acknowledge Black History Month and declare in our country that this is here to stay. Something that he said that I love is, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history, which again is a positive thing. And the reason I keep emphasizing positive is because now when we think about Black history, we think about the way that it has been befouled by woke people. We think about how when people talk about Black history, it's only about racism and police brutality and this excuse to spend an entire month attacking white people and telling white people that they should feel guilty about things that they had nothing to do with. Like, please. I'm so sick of just these narratives being taught in history. We should be teaching actual history when we're going there. And even when we're talking about something that's negative, we could be talking about the negative in a way that's, look how far we've come, or just at least telling the truth about it. Because this narrative that every single white person should feel guilty for slavery just doesn't even make sense. The majority of white people don't even come from a lineage of slavery. Do you really think that all these white people back in Jim Crow South were wealthy and owning these massive plantations? They were not. A lot of these white people were broke. A lot of white people come from a long lineage of poverty. So be so for real and tell the actual truth when you teach Black history. Moving along, I want to talk about the Grammys. There were so many stories coming out of this week, but I think overall it was a pretty good event. I think a lot of the people who deserve to win Grammys won Grammys. Taylor Swift walked away with nothing, as she should, because her album was giving absolutely nothing. And I want to highlight some of these winners. Let's talk about Sabrina Carpenter. You guys know her song Espresso. That was literally my anthem all summer. It's still my anthem. Please, Please, Please is a bop. Like, the whole album is full of bops. She pretty much swept the pop categories, which I think was well deserved. I thought it was going to be either her or Billie Eilish taking home a bunch of awards. I actually do feel sorry for Billie Eilish. She walked away empty-handed, even though her album was good. Birds of a Feather is a whole bop. Then you have people like Chappell Roan, who she won Best New Artist, which again, I think is fair. I think this competition was steep, but I'm not a fan necessarily of Chappell Roan. I can appreciate a couple of her hits, but I think overall, when it comes to impact and innovation, she is a very talented artist, even though she looks like a witch. I mean, I guess that's on purpose, but why? I don't understand her aesthetic. It's like this. I feel like she's giving an homage to drag queens or something, because her whole like shtick is being this like drag queen witch, and it's really creepy. And then she's always like yelling at photographers and yelling at her fans, but at least she sets boundaries. But you know, I respect Chapel's speech because she made her speech about how a lot of different artists are taken advantage of, especially like her when she was a minor when she got signed. These people took her and gave her this promise of the world and then cut her off, and she was flat broke and depressed. So I did like her speech, but then, and I was actually shocked that she didn't say anything woke during her speech. But then, of course, the second she got to the red carpet, she started talking about how much she loves trans people. And I was gonna play the clip, but I was like, I don't even want you guys to cringe as much as I cringed watching her on the red carpet. She was just like, trans people, they exist, and I wouldn't be here without trans people. It's like, girl, give us a break. Give us a break, please. Same thing with Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars won Best, I think it was Pop Duo, which again, understood. It was the most Grammy for their song, Die With a Smile. That song was screaming Grammy Award winning. I actually didn't become a fan of the song until like a week ago. It took a lot of growing on me. But Gaga got up there, and I respect her tremendously as an artist. It's just her whole thing is always going to be about being woke. And why I say that is because when you watch these events, you just have to accept that there's going to be some woke push. And Gaga got up on the stage and was saying how trans people, we see you, you're not invisible. It's like, nobody is saying that trans people are invisible. We see them everywhere. We see them against our will. We see them in the locker rooms that they do not belong in. And that's what the problem is. The problem isn't that trans people are being erased and are invisible. The problem is that you are taking this tiny, minute percentage of our country and forcing them in our face 24/7, and then putting men who are swinging their dangalangs around in the locker room so that Paula Scanlon and Riley Gaines have to see it. We're tired. We're packed. Okay? So all of this trans propaganda, it's like, I've just come to expect it with these awards shows. Like, you guys know that I love pop culture, so I've accepted it's a given. And I'm not necessarily even mad about it when it's like a sprinkle here and there, because I just want conservatives and people with common sense to be allowed in these spaces. I don't necessarily want or need to see this woke stuff erased from culture. I just want it to have a time and a place, and that's what's important. Now, that being said, when it comes to time and a place, let's talk about Kanye West doing the most while his wife is wearing the least. First of all, Kanye, you are so nasty. And I hate to say it because I'm from Chicago. I love Kanye West as an artist. When I was a kid growing up, I even had the pink polo. I thought I was Kanye. You could not convince me that I was not Kanye West. So to see him just become weirder and weirder, it's like, okay, whatever. But the way he parades his wife around, just booty crack naked. Like, we had to put a big censorship block on this woman because she is wearing a pantyhose. Like, it's a stretched out, see-through, nude-colored pantyhose. You see everything. You see an entire anatomy class of what she's got going on. It is a lot. And I just do not understand why you're proud of this as your husband. I mean, like, and why her as an individual, because we keep just looking at Kanye, but it's like her. It's like, there's no way that she is genuinely happy to be wearing that. And what was crazy, and I can't even play the video because you'll see too much, is she's pulling down the dress because it started to ride up a little bit. It's like, girl, what are you trying to cover up? We already see everything in 4K. So for her to sit here and try to be like shy about it and like, oh no, like my dress is riding up. It's like, we see through. You're basically wearing Windex. Who does that? But what makes me even more mad is that obviously the Grammys isn't the most child-friendly show in the world, but there were literal children on the red carpet seeing this. Like, I found this picture on Twitter and everybody was laughing about it, but I feel like this is a lot more serious of a situation than y'all are making it. Because if we're gonna keep it real, we'd all be pissed if that was a man, especially if it was an LGBT man. Wearing nothing and being naked at this kind of event and this child is watching it, but we're all sitting here laughing thinking it's innocent because little homie's just trying to get a peek. But it's like, this to me is predatory. You know that there are children in the audience. You know that there are children on the red carpet, and you are literally naked, and people online think that it's funny that this kid was watching, and I find this very concerning. I also find it concerning because in Diddy's America, you know, let me word this carefully. I'm not going to make any allegations about Kanye West, but I don't write off what he knew about Diddy either. I don't. I don't. And I don't write him off as being the type to share. And when you have women who want to be in a powerful position, like what Bianca, his wife now, is in, I want her to blink twice if she needs help. I really do. I really do. Moving along, Kendrick Lamar also swept the Grammys with one song, which is crazy. He won 5 Grammys for the Not Like Us song. And I feel so bad for Drake because imagine all of your peers, there are 13,000 people on the Grammy committee. And for him to win Song and Record of the Year, knowing that this entire song is calling you a pedo, I don't know if I could say the whole word, the PDF file style word that they were all calling Drake, and the whole room was singing the note A minor, referring to Drake liking little girls. I don't know if those allegations are true or not. I haven't heard much substance of that besides just the allegations that are in the TMZ sheets of it all. But that is pretty crazy. Him winning Song and Record of the Year, I thought was a bit over the top. I think Billie Eilish should have taken Record of the Year. That's more how the song sounds, rather Kendrick winning Song of the Year because that's how the song is written. But I really do think that this is a corrective effort because Kendrick Lamar has been a Grammy darling ever since Macklemore snatched the Rap Album of the Year Grammy some years ago. I will never forget the amount of backlash, rightfully so, that Macklemore didn't deserve the heat himself. He didn't do anything wrong, but his career never was the same, and he became this woke artist after winning Rap Album of the Year because people were making it a racial issue. I don't even think it should have had anything to do with race, even though you could argue that that's why some people in the community related to his music more. But it just had to do with the fact that his music was not groundbreaking enough to earn a Grammy, particularly the Rap Album of the Year over Kendrick Lamar's album Good Kid, Mad City, which was an absolute masterpiece. But I say all this to say, with all the DEI allegations that are going on with these people in music, if anybody deserves the DEI allegations, it's low-key Kendrick Lamar, because I feel like so many of the Grammys he gets are sympathy Grammys because he is talented, but they're doing the most. Not Like Us didn't need 5 Grammys. Cultural moment, yes, but y'all doing a lot. Now, I want to talk about Doechii. Doechii actually won the Rap Album of the Year awards. You've probably never heard of this woman in your life, but I guarantee you're going to be sick of her in about 2 years. Maybe not sick of her, but you're going to be seeing her a lot. She's going to be overexposed. She is the new industry plant. And I know she's an industry plant because all these major artists posted about her at the exact same day, exact same time, being like, oh my gosh, have you heard of Doechii? Oh my gosh, like this new Doechii album that had already been out for months. Like everybody was obsessing over her overnight. She just got announced as being a part of the Met Gala committee. She's just got this Rap Album of the Year Grammy. And suddenly it's like you can't escape this woman seemingly overnight. And I'm not mad at it because she is talented. And I just want you guys to pay attention that when people are in your face constantly, that's not something that's just happening organically more often than not. That is an industry plant. And again, I'm just happy that this industry plant is talented. But I loved what she had to say on stage. She got on stage and said that she felt called to sobriety and that she spent the entirety of making this album committed to sobriety, and that she felt that God was telling her that if she stayed committed to sobriety, that she would end up being blessed and highly favored. And looks like it worked. So amen to that, Doechii. I always love to see these huge artists and these up-and-coming artists be grateful for God on stage and for it to seem genuine and to put a message out there to their fans that's actually helpful. Now, some people are mad at her for this other part of what she said on stage, but I actually liked what she had to say. She said, I know there are some black girls, so many black women watching me right now, and I want to tell you, you can do it. Anything is possible. Don't allow anybody to project any stereotypes on you. Now, a lot of people interpret that as woke, but I thought that was an incredible message because that's only woke if you interpret it as woke. She didn't say anything about like these white people are holding you down or these white people are giving you stereotypes. An issue that often happens in the black community, for those who don't know, is even within the black community, black people, especially black women, are told you have to fit into these boxes. Shout out to my cousin Asia. For example, she is a black woman thriving and killing the game in agricultural business. And I remember when she first started studying agriculture and taking these classes, she was being teased. That people were like, oh, you're a black girl. You shouldn't be learning about farming. What, you want to be a farmer? Why are you working in the fields? Yada, yada, yada. It's stuff like that that makes black women feel like they have to pigeonhole themselves. And again, it's not even necessarily an issue that white people are doing this. It's just when it comes to black women's representation, black women deserve to know that they are capable of being in any space that it is that they want to be in. And that goes to any demographic. So I thought that Doechie's message was really powerful. It was more telling black women, pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and go get this work done, rather than sitting here spreading this narrative that you are oppressed. So shout out to Doechie. I thought that was cool. Another thing I liked about Doechie is that she was not having it with Trevor Noah's monologue. So Trevor Noah was, if you know him from The Daily Show and some other things that he's done, I never really watched this man because he has always been really cringe to me, this South African man. He got on stage and tried to make all these corny jokes about Trump, and he made this one joke about illegal immigrants. Take a quick look at Doechie's reaction.
Be honoring the best in music as voted on by the 13,000 members of the Recording Academy and 20 million illegal immigrants. And tonight, no matter what happens, history will be made. Some artists, like Sabrina Carpenter.
She is not having it. Now, I don't know if she's conservative or woke or not, but I just know that even if she is woke, then it honestly makes that even funnier, because people are so sick of this type of humor. That's how you know culture is changing, because she hears about 20 million illegal immigrants voting for these awards and just had nothing to do but roll her eyes. Girl, we all feel you in that sentiment. Trevor Noah also got up there and said that with a few changes in Washington, that this may be the last time he ever gets to host anything in our country. You know what, Trevor? I hope you're right. I hope Project 2025 specifically bans you from ever having another hosting gig, because you are not funny. Can we bring like Keke Palmer or somebody to come do these hosting gigs? Someone who can be funny without telling these cringe political jokes and expecting the entire room. Like, how narcissistic do you have to be to expect the entire room to be on the same side as you with your ideology and your politics? Like, that to me is just an era that needs to be over. Even Miley Cyrus knows how to host a good event without making things too political. Like, I'm just tired of this. This is the type of culture that is dying off. So I need that to go. We also need Alicia Keys to go, because I love Alicia Keys. She is so beautiful and classy and talented, but she had this garbage to say on stage too.
This is not the time to shut down the diversity of voices. We've seen on this stage talented, hardworking people from different backgrounds with different points of view, and it changes the game.
You're probably hearing it on the stream.
DEI is not a threat, it's a gift.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear what Alicia Keys is saying, so I'm just going to let you know, because again, we are live. Alicia Keys got on stage and started talking about how she is a black female producer and how she's happy to get this Icon Award.
This is not the time to shut down the diversity of voices. We've seen on this stage talented, hardworking people from different backgrounds with different points of view, and it changes the game. DEI is not a threat, it's a gift.
Like, these people literally just make me want to run into a wall. DEI is not a threat, it is a gift. DEI is literally a threat on humanity. DEI is the reason that we are seeing just so many elements of our society falling apart. DEI is the reason that by focusing on DEI and not on quality, that the quality of so many industries, whether it's tech, entertainment, comedy, etc., have tanked. So again, I can only be so mad at this, because you have to expect a certain level of wokeness when you watch these shows. But Alicia Keys, congratulations. You never needed anybody to give you equity in order to sell all the records that you did. So please stop with these Negro spirituals. It's getting tired. It's packed. We are ready to move on from that. And we are moving on from you. Now, I want to talk about one of the biggest controversies of the night was Beyoncé winning the Country Album of the Year as well as the Album of the Year. Now, before I even talk about this, I have to show Beyonce's reaction, because even she was so shocked that she won the Country Album of the Year. I just have to play the clip of her reaction.
And the Grammy goes to Cowboy Carter.
And then Asia, Blue Ivy Carter, that woman is always broadcasting her front. Her daughter's just like, get up. Like, what are you doing? Get up. Blue is keeping her alive. Now, Beyonce was shocked probably because the CMAs didn't give her a single nomination. I know you see a lot of her peers who are at least pretending to be grateful for her. I think some of them probably actually are, and some of them are probably discussing that they lost to Beyonce, but I mean, it is what it is. All is competition. Now, before I even get into this conversation and why I think this conversation around Beyonce and country music is important, I just want to preface with this. Don't come from my neck. Because outside of the Israel-Gaza conflict, there is no topic, and I'm not kidding, there is no topic that I have gotten more backlash from both sides on and more attacks and more personal death threats on than any time I discuss Beyonce. Because some of you hate Beyonce. When I say something good, you hate her to a point that it's concerning. It's like, go touch grass. This woman has not personally wronged you. And then some of you are 45-year-old men who probably are struggling to pay your rent because you spend your entire life and existence attaching your own self-worth to an aging pop star who doesn't even talk to you or know that you exist. So both of y'all are kind of weird, but I want to have a nuanced conversation about this because when we talk about systemic racism, I am one of the first people to say that systemic racism does not exist in America anymore. But if there is a subculture that I would say that there are still traces of systemic racism, it is Hollywood. It is entertainment, which isn't shocking when you think of the fact that so many elements of racism that we see going through our country have to do with left-leaning organizations, entities, and industries. And when it comes to Hollywood, there are just a lot of weird gatekeeping elements that go on. And I can do that from multiple directions. I can talk about the weird systemic racism against white people. But in this instance, when it comes to music, I want to talk about just like the genre, like just lack of overlap that some of these gatekeepers tend to have. Now, when people, first of all, try to say that Beyonce is too overrated and got DEI win for Album of the Year, that's just an insane allegation, okay? When we talk about Beyonce, this is 4 decades that she has been a part of dominating in the music space, and she has the most wins of any Grammy Award winner, but almost all of her wins have to do with the black categories, the R&B categories. And when you see like a white artist some years ago, like Justin Bieber, he made an R&B album, and anytime he went to an award show, they refused to put him in the R&B categories, and he was mad. Why? Because historically speaking, these genres partially were used to try to gatekeep what race is allowed to win awards in what category. Justin Bieber tried to get into R&B and they refused to put him in R&B. Same way with Drake. When Drake made a full-blown pop song wanting to win awards outside of just hip hop and R&B, he wasn't allowed to be in those categories, even though the songs he was making, like Hotline Bling, for example, was winning all these Rap Song of the Year awards. Hotline Bling is not a rap song. It's a pop song. But there's this weird gatekeeping that goes on. And the reason why Beyonce made this country album, before we even get into the debate of is it country or not, what I think is an interesting conversation is that the reason she made this album is that her song Daddy Lessons on her 2016 album Lemonade was a clearly country song. She performed it at the CMAs. And I will say, the comments and the backlash that woman endured simply for being on stage was genuinely scary to me. And even when I look back at it in retrospect as someone who now is conservative and leans conservative, I still think that people went way too far with the attacks that they were giving her simply for performing at the CMAs, because this is also a woman who stopped doing interviews because she used to be bullied for sounding too country and being too country as the Houston girl that she is. And then on in the next breath, now all of a sudden she's told that she's not country enough. So her making this album, this country inspired album, is very significant for the music industry because there were a lot of black artists who recently have not been allowed to break into those spaces. Yes, you have examples like Darius Rucker, who has a very successful career in country music, but it is very, very rare that even the most talented black country artists were getting signed. And when Beyonce released her Cowboy Carter album, every single like decently known black country artists saw thousands of percentage or like several thousand percentage points and spikes in their music sales. A bunch of them finally got signed to record labels. This singer, K. Michelle, who's actually a conservative, shout out to K. Michelle. She's a fan of PragerU. She was a very talented R&B artist who went into country, and she could not get signed for a country music deal. She talked very vocally about, not in a woe is me, I'm a victim type of way, but talked about the fact that she could not get her songs on country radio, and that she was often told, no, you need to stay in this R&B box. And I think this is an important conversation to have, because we need to stop placing people in boxes because of their race. That applies to white people, that applies to Hispanic people, it applies to black people, etc. We need to stop trying to have these boxes. And I feel like majority of industries, they're ready to move on from those boxes. They were kind of forced to because of DEI. But in the Hollywood space, the space that prides itself on being so woke and so progressive, you are the Hollywood is like the furthest thing from actually being accepting of people stepping out of the boundary that their race is telling them that they have to be in. So no, I don't think that her win was for DEI, but I think it did do justice to organic diversity with talent, and including people with talent from different demographics in the country music space. And I hope that that's something that people can at least look at that positive in. Because for people saying like, oh, but Beyonce just doesn't do country. She hasn't done a pop album since 2009. Every album she's done since 2009 has been a different genre. So again, I don't want to dwell too much on the whole Beyonce thing, but a lot of people are just enraged about her winning country album of the year. But I think part of her win, I genuinely did enjoy the album, but even without bias, I do think the reason she is winning that award, the Country Album of the Year award, has to do more with it did actually break down some barriers for a lot of these artists. For example, Shabusi, we all love a bar song, Tipsy, which I was surprised didn't win any Grammys, but he ended up getting his huge claim to fame because of the feature on Beyonce's album. So I hope that at least adds a little bit of context to the people who are fumingly mad that she won this award. I actually thought Jelly Roll, he spoke very highly about the whole situation, and he actually gave me some clarity of why Beyonce wasn't nominated at the CMAs, because people were all trying to say that was racism, which you could argue it, but at the same time, you could argue they just didn't like her album, because her album has a lot of genres on it. Her album has rap, blues, rock, all of this. It also does have country music. And Jelly Roll, who said he likes the album, but he did talk about the fact that country music is an inherently conservative genre. So they don't want to see it be broken up into so many different categories like rock did. They want to be able to still say, hey, we're in Nashville, there's a country music concert, come on down. Because if you say, oh, there's a pop music concert, you're going to want to know exactly who it was that's performing. Otherwise, you're not going. So there is just like this extra level of protection being put on country music. And I can at least respect that. So anyways, Beyonce, congratulations on winning Album of the Year. It's long overdue. She's had many albums I think deserve that more, but at the end of the day, this is the one that ended up taking it. I think it's another corrective win, but I personally love the album anyway. And a win that truly came out of the Grammys, I do want to talk about Joy Villa and her whole fit. She had this iconic fit over at the Grammys, wearing a red hat, saying the hat stays on. She is committed to the bit. She wore an iconic Make America Great Again dress some years back to the Grammys that I expected to have her completely blackballed, but they keep inviting her back, as they should, because she's immensely talented. But this is what she had to say about all the immigration conversations going on today.
I think the ones that should be deported are being deported. To be honest, I'm a Latina. My family came from this country to this country legally. And I love to see rapists, human traffickers deported. I don't want to see them here. I want us to be free for all colors, for all people. Like, that's what makes America great again. So we can create, so we can live. Like, as an artist, as a musician, I want to be able to walk at night and not think that I'm going to get killed by an illegal alien. And so those are the people getting deported, and those are the people that should get deported.
I wish that video could just be plastered everywhere. I don't think that could have been said better in any capacity. Like Joy Villa, that was 10 out of 10 answer. Okay, the fact that she is not saying to get rid of every immigrant. Nobody's saying to get rid of every immigrant. But the way that y'all are crashing out that we are sending these illegals back to where they need to go, they weren't even supposed to be here. Okay? So when we talk about ICE and everything that's happening in LA right now, if you guys saw, there was this massive shutdown on 101, the highway, and all these different people protesting. And you see all these different Mexican flags and Central American flags because these people are not standing up for immigration. They're standing up for illegal immigrants. They're standing up for criminals. Let's take a look at what happened over the weekend. We are not criminals. If you don't have your papers, you are inherently a criminal. If you do not have the credentials to be here, you are a criminal, okay? I don't know why that's so hard for people to get through their heads. Like, this is just chaos. Shutting down the highways, which is the most disrespectful thing in the world. You realize there are people who need to give birth. There are people who are dying. There are people who need to make flights so they can get to their weddings. There are people who have lives. There are people who are losing their jobs and their lives because you have taken out the entire freeway and are disrupting our way of life. And really, you're not making your case any better. If you are out here stopping the way of life of the American people, you are not making your case any better. You are just making us want to deport you that much more, which is why the subject line for this entire session of the show is the ICE hotline. Okay, because we need people going to ICE and reporting these illegal immigrants because this is out of control. Okay, people are trying to be like all big and tough and making a stand. How about you go take a stand in your own country? Y'all are holding signs saying Viva Mexico, which means long live Mexico. You don't even live in Mexico. So how are you going to tell us long live Mexico? How about you go live in Mexico for a long time, okay? At least until you get your credentials and you can come back here, okay? I don't want to see y'all coming back unless y'all are coming back with birth certificates and a visa. It's out of control. And then these people feel like they're illegal, but still should have the right to be so influential in American politics. Please, if you look at Mexico's constitution makes it very clear that non-Mexicans are not allowed to infiltrate their politics at all. If you are not Mexican, you are not allowed to influence Mexican politics per their constitution. So why can't we keep that same energy here? And it has nothing to do with beef against Mexicans or beef against Central Americans. It's beef against the people who disrespect our country and they break laws and come here. And then they come here illegally and then they're shocked that we treat them like illegal criminals. But that's what you are. So shout out to ICE. ICE's phone number is 866-347-2423. Surprised I don't know that number by heart by now because I have been calling it. Oh, yes, I called it on my neighbor. I sure did. Be careful telling me that you don't have documentation because I'm calling ICE and you're going right back to where you came from, respectfully. And to the people who were in my comment section over the weekend when I was talking about this whole situation and they were telling me, well, you're going to hell. Well, you know what? If I do end up going to hell, at least I'll have the documentation to be there because y'all still don't belong here. And I hope that all of these protests are being treated as honeypots and that they are going around tracking the phone number, like the little cellular devices and tracking the license plates of these people who've exposed themselves to either being illegal immigrants or being likely to be supporting the lives and the sanctuary of illegal immigrants. And don't come back until you get your papers. I'm all for legal immigration, and I'm all for people working hard to get their credentials to be Americans. I don't blame you for wanting to be an American. It's an incredible thing to do. Am I being too harsh, Mr. Rodriguez?
No, I don't think you're being harsh. I think it's a reality that everyone wants to be a part of this lovely beacon of liberty, this country. It's amazing. You know, I have a personal story that if I may share with you just really briefly.
Of course.
This hits close to home because I understand that I have a different understanding that my mother-in-law, for instance, came to this country, came here illegally, and she wanted something different than where she came from. She came from Guatemala, beautiful place, but of course this land, there's something so special about it, a certain blessing over it. She comes over here illegally, hires a coyote, does things the wrong way, unfortunately, but once she gets here, she starts meeting more people, and within her church, she gets encouraged to do things the right way. And so that's what she does. She has a course correction. And so she ends up going through the due process in order to make this happen, taking the time to study for this test, doing everything she needs to do, the residency, you name it. She went through it. And she had a helping hand within the church, of course, which was beautiful. But the whole point is she could have just said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be here. I already made it here illegally. There's no reason to course correct. But she did that. And she went through that process. And it was challenging. It was not easy. And it took a good amount of time. But the fact of the matter is she is now a citizen. And she's been a citizen for quite some time now. So it's certainly possible that if anyone came to this country illegally, you can course correct and do things the right way and become a citizen and enjoy all the wonderful pleasures of this beautiful country and have these opportunities to succeed. That is something we wish and that we want, but without order, you have chaos. Without obeying the law of the land, you're going to run into issues where this will not be sustained. And so it's important to make sure, do things the right way, smarten up, because you got to make it right. Do the right thing and not the wrong thing. So that's what I just wanted to share with you.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
You know, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful turn of events. It's like, yes, coming here illegally, I have empathy. I understand why a lot of people are desperate to come to America for a better life. But when you come here, you can't just soak up all of our resources, not learn anything about our country, not assimilate, not appreciate where you are, and go and break the law and be on the streets wild and out like these people are, or going and doing the insane, disgusting things that so many people are doing. If you're going to come here, come correct. And if you're here right now and you are terrified of these new laws that are being put in place, do the right thing and earn your citizenship. Learn about the country, and we're building a whole show around that here at PragerU about how to pass a citizenship test. Because I think every single American should be able to, but these people who are coming to our country or who are already here without paperwork, I beseech you to take that extra time, extra energy, and utilize your resources. Like Mr. Rodriguez, your sister-in-law, that's incredible, or your mother-in-law, I mean, that is incredible that she utilized the resources of the church and they helped her. They helped her acquire her legal citizenship. That's the kind of story that genuinely puts a smile on my face, because it shows that you appreciate this country and that you were willing to course correct. It's not too late for some of you. For some of you, the criminals, you got to go. You're in the first bus out and you ain't coming back. But for those of you who are really just truly here trying to have a better life for yourselves, I'm still side-eyeing how you got here in the first place, but earn your keep. Earn your keep. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, you know, we cannot talk about all this clownery and craziness without having a goofy of the day. And today it is that raggedy wench, hi sister, James Charles. So for those of you who have the pleasure of not knowing who James Charles is, he is this really hyper annoying, just delusional makeup artist who has this claim to fame through social media, doing makeup tutorials online, and always seems to be in some kind of chaos or some kind of problem. Like, I feel like James Charles's most viral iconic moments are either him wronging somebody, doing something predatory towards straight men, doing something predatory towards gay children. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Or it's him apologizing for the things that he was caught doing and making a viral video crying. I think the only, like one of the few videos I've ever seen of his is him talking about how he was so sorry, and like just tens of minutes of him crying. This man is always crying about something stupid. Well, what pissed me off particularly about James Charles recently, and he deleted the video so fast that I cannot find the original video anywhere on the internet, but I did find an HD recording of him disrespecting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Let's play this disgusting video.
No offense, but why does RFK sound like that? How many packs of cigarettes a day do you have to smoke to even get to that level of throat pain? Like, you're trying to convince us that he's going to be the Secretary of Health? Doesn't seem very healthy to me. I support the measles, the vaccine. Spit it out, Grandpa. Are you good? Jesus Christ.
You need Jesus. I don't know why you swearing on his name, because that's the first person you should be calling for help. We all should, but you really should. Like yesterday. So, first of all, when we talk about RFK, like obviously everybody knows by now that he has a condition, and that's what has, at least I thought everybody knew by now that he had a condition that makes him have these really spasmic vocal cracks, however you want to describe it, that trembling voice that he has. I believe it's called spasmodic dysphonia is how you pronounce the condition that he developed back in 1996. So first, before I even... So you're one of those people, James, I don't even know where to start with you, because imagine mumbling and cackling about another grown man's voice when you have allegations of yourself seducing little boys. Imagine making fun of the strength of another man when your most iconic moments are you crying or being canceled. And if there's anything that you should be canceled for in this situation, it's ableism. Because you're sitting here making fun of a disability that somebody has, and yet you really should be taking notes on how he overcame an adversity. You don't see RFK out here crying. Do you know how many things that this man has been through? I beseech you, James Charles, to go and do some research on all the things that RFK has survived through, has been through, and still goes out there as a man of strength, while you sit on the internet putting on your blush and crying about every single day of the week and how they have wronged you. You are a habitual victim. You are pathetic. And if I'm so irritated that I don't like cancel culture, but where's accountability culture? Where are all your peers calling you out for making fun of this man who has a speech impediment? That is just disgusting behavior. And I find it really weird how it's always the men with absolutely no masculinity who think that they can get away with any and everything, because you wouldn't keep that energy in RFK's face. You look like you can't do a single push-up or pull-up, and you're sitting here talking about RFK. No, you sound like that. You sound like you are gagging on your own stupidity. And for that, I have no respect for you. None at all. But I do have respect for all of you, my cousins. So there is a link in the description of this video. Oh yes, aggressive pivot. We have a link in our description where we want to know, what do you guys think of the show so far? We want to hear your feedback, what you like, what you don't. So please go ahead and click that link. It'll take you over to PragerU.com, where you can give us feedback of what you want to hear about on the show, what you don't want to hear about, and what you like to see. I appreciate every single one of my cousins for tuning in for another episode of Respectfully. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all soon.